Attention, all Folketeers. Welcome to Folk and Beyond. With me, your host, Derry Jones. I'll be having a special guest in the studio every month, featuring 5+1 faves, live performances from the Swinging Cat, and last but by no means least, Busby's going to be asking,
what's going on at the Woodman Des?
Yes, snippets from our very own Woodman Virtual Folk Club. That was Jig a Jig by East of Eden, one of my very favourite folk tracks. Good evening, everyone. And in the studio today, I have a very special guest, Mr. John Hoare. Say hello, John.
Hello, John.
Hello, John. Ably supported by his wife, Carol.
Good evening, Derry.
Good evening, Carol. Today we're going to be running John's 5+1 faves track. That's 6 tracks that he likes for his professional and personal reasons. And also we're going to be having live from the Swinging Cat. That's the pit that is my studio. Some 5+1 again of John's favourite live tracks. So he's going to be playing live in the studio. So we'll be listening to that later. Meanwhile, we've got John's first 5+1 faves. Right, John. Good evening.
Good evening.
Right, what is your 5+1 faves? What are we starting with?
We'll start with a Beatles song, which is Norwegian Wood. It could have been any Beatles song, because Beatles music is the music of my youth. Or childhood, I suppose, really. It's off Rubber Soul album. And I may need a handkerchief at the end of this, because I played this LP incessantly over the Christmas when my first girlfriend dumped me. And any song on this is very emotional for me. So.
Right. So, Carol, presumably this is one of your favourite songs.
Oh, love it.
Yes? There we are then. Well, we'll go straight in without any ado. I'll just turn the microphones down in case they start fighting. With Norwegian Wood by the Beatles. Norwegian Wood by the Beatles. They did some cracking tracks, didn't they, eh?
Indeed.
That's a good choice there, John. And what's your next one?
Next one is John Richards' song. Title is June. Very little known song by John Richards. First recorded, in fact, I only recorded on an album called Village Music by Brindley Bray, which was recorded at Bev Pegg's studio.
Bev Pegg.
At his house in Kinver in Brindley Bray. Featuring on it, among other people, Mike Tinsley, mandolin player, with whom John ran the Saracen's Head Folk Club in Dudley for some years. The song is really about a girl on a calendar in the month of June, one assumes. I suspect it's the kind of calendar that we're not allowed to see anymore. Say no more about that.
I see. I have no idea what you're talking about, John, just in case Deb's listening.
Right. And John doesn't sing this song anymore. In fact, I've asked him several times and he won't sing the song anymore. Such was my frustration that I actually sang it when I was doing support for him at the Woodman and got away with it, I think.
Oh, right. So, well, you're still here, so that's good testament to John's goodwill.
Indeed.
Yeah. John Richards, by the way, is an excellent local songwriter whose songs have been covered by many bands, the Arizona Smoke Review being one of them, and, of course, the very regal Fairport Convention, the kings of folk rock.
I think the fact that he can throw away a song of this quality says a lot about John's songwriting.
He's a very good songwriter, there is no doubt. And he's played the Woodman several times. He's a good friend of the Woodman as well. As is Bev Pegg, of course. He's played a very, very funny man. If ever you get to see him, go and see him. He's good. And John, of course. Here we go with June.
Black Country Extra.
First thing that I saw in my room without a view, a dirty grey old wall, there's a backcloth behind you. I looked into your face, your eyes were smiling down. You stand unmoving like the statues in the town. But though the statues made of stone, grey and dead and so unreal, you have a radiance of your own that human camera reveals. But you can't say you love me, June, 'cause you can't even see me, June. Just a period decided by the moon, calendar photograph of June. I said I love you, your expression never changed. I said I want you, but your face remains the same. It makes me want to cry just staring at your face. As though I love you, your heart sings some other place. I want to hold you while I say, help me, my love, to fill your heart. And though you're only feet away, well, I know we'll always be apart. 'Cause you can't say you love me, June, 'cause you can't even see me, June. You're just a period decided by the moon, calendar photograph of June. You're just a photograph hair falls down upon a purple shoulder shawl. Your legs are long and dark, your breasts are young and full, and press against the shoulder shawl of purple wool. I lie beside you in my bed, although it's all inside my mind. And though you'll always fill my head, well, I know your love I'll never find. 'Cause you can't say you love me, June, 'cause you can't even see me, June. You're just a period decided by the moon, calendar photograph of June. So June the 30th is nearly at an end. They won't throw you away, on that you can depend. I'll take you from the wall and hold you for a while, and stare for hours at your eyes that seem to smile. I'll lie in bed with you above, and while you're there you'll just be mine. And though I'll never have your love, well, I'll have your picture for all time. 'Cause you can't say you love me, June, 'cause you can't even see me, June. You're just a period decided by the moon, calendar photograph of June.
And that track was called June, and it was by our good friend John Richards. An excellent track. And I think John might have trouble reaching those notes now. It was very falsetto, wasn't it, eh?
Yeah, normal people do have.
Oh, well, yes, but he has got a very good high range, so maybe he could if he wanted to. I think he's being kind to womankind, if that makes sense.
Right.
John, what's your next track, mate?
Next one is Streets of London by Ralph McTell, which won't need a lot of introduction to anybody.
Never heard of it.
No. This is the original version taken from Ralph McTell's second album, Spiral Staircase, 1969. He hadn't felt that the song was good enough to include on his first album.
Right.
This is a song that actually made me want to play guitar and actually made me do something about it.
Ah, so this is one we can blame.
Yes.
Right.
I have the LP with a groove worn in it where I lifted the needle off and on about 4 million times. We didn't have internet then, of course. A later 1974 re-release of this song, slightly different, actually made it into the charts. It got to number 2. It would have been number 1 had it not been for Mud singing Lonely This Christmas and Status Quo singing Down Down. Along the way, the song has become an anthem for the homeless, the dispossessed, aided by the fact that Ralph released it again quite recently as a Christmas release with proceeds to a charity crisis.
I remember that, yeah.
But actually, I always take pains to point out the original meaning of the song. The song originally was written while he was in Paris as a plea to a friend of his who was actually a heroin addict. Sadly, his friend Martin didn't survive. The song did, and has become a world-famous song. And if you find a song titled Song for Martin, it tells the story a bit more succinctly about Martin. That was a 1982 release on Water of Dreams.
Right, and of course Streets of London is probably one of the most famous folk tracks ever.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I remember back in the day, if you used into a music shop and picked up a Gibson guitar, which you couldn't afford back then anyway. And you started playing the streets of London. You were kicked out rather sharply with a flea in your ear. And then a few years later, if you were playing Stairway to Heaven, the very same thing happened.
I just wish I could play Stairway to Heaven.
Well,
but, okay.
it was the same shop. I never went back after that.
Right.
So here we go. Ralph McTell and the very famous Streets of London.
Have you seen the old man in the closed down market, kicking up the paper with his worn out shoes? In his eyes you see no pride, and held loosely at his side yesterday's paper telling yesterday's news. So how can you tell me you're lonely and say for you that the sun don't shine? Let me take you by the hand and lead you through the streets of London, show you something to make you change your mind. Have you seen the old girl who walks the streets of London? Dirt in her hair and her clothes in rags. She's no time for talking, she just keeps right on walking, carrying her home in 2 carrier bags. So how can you tell me you're lonely and say for you that the sun don't shine? Let me take you by the hand and lead you through the streets of London, show you something to make you change your mind. In the all-night cafe at 11:15, same old man sitting there on his own, looking at the world over the rim of his teacup. Each tea lasts an hour and he wanders home alone. So how can you tell me you're lonely? Don't say for you that the sun don't shine. Let me take you by the hand and lead you through the streets of London, show you something to make you change your mind. Have you seen the old man outside the Seaman's Mission? Memory fading with the metal ribbons that he wears. In our winter city, the rain cries a little pity for one more forgotten hero and a world that doesn't care. So how can you tell me you're lonely and say for you that the sun don't shine? Let me take you by the hand and lead you through the streets of London, show you something to make you change your mind.
That was The Streets of London by Ralph McTell. The very excellent Ralph McTell, still going strong, still gigging, well, when COVID permitting, of course. So get along and see him whenever you can. That was an excellent choice, John. What's your next one, mate?
Well, strangely enough, it's another Ralph McTell song.
Well, there's a surprise.
Yeah, I could have put dozens of them in, of course.
John's a big fan.
This is a song titled The Setting, and this was on Ralph's 1987 Bridge of Sighs album, and I think this is one of his best of many. I have an Irish surname. Hoare is an Irish surname, and perhaps that's why I'm strangely drawn to Irish themes. So this is essentially about emigrating from Ireland. Interestingly, Ralph has gone on record as saying that he regrets having added the last verse.
Oh, right.
You may see why when you come to it. Fascination for this is that it's in open D tuning.
Well, that's clever stuff, that is.
It is, and it's on my I will learn to play this properly one day.
I bet that's a big book. Mine is.
It is very long,
Yes,
yes.
a very
long
big book indeed.
Very long book.
I don't think I've heard this track, to be quite honest. And it's Ralph Vattel, and it's a track called The Setting.
It's all about you. Black Country Extra.
I'll never forget the walk to the station. Me with your suitcase, being brotherly, strong, and just trying to make light of the whole situation. In light conversation, we move through the throng. And above all the roar of the town was the blue sky. I could hear the birds singing for the joy of the day. And there was no support from the city forthcoming, no sympathy, nothing, you're going away. It's hard to say goodbye. And you with your bright eyes and best dress for traveling, me in my work clothes, unshaven and plain. Oh, I fully intended to put in a half day, but my good intentions went with you on the train. And I never look back as the train left the station, crossed over the road and walked into the park. And there in a bar an old man was singing, and I sat there drinking until it got dark. And outside the trees they grew starlings like apples. Their hustle and chatter, not dampened by the rain that washed down the pavements and into the gutters, that soaked through my clothes as I set out again. God's world hidden by rain clouds. The song of the old man still locked in my brain. All emigration, the curse of a nation, the setting now fitting his sad sweet refrain.
That was The Setting by Ralph McTell, and an excellent track it was too. Another good choice, John.
Good.
I can see there's a bit of a pattern forming here, mate. I can see a pattern, and I don't normally pick up on these things, but there we are. You don't need to be a psychic to pick that one up, I think. John's a very big fan of Ralph McTell, as we all are in the folk industry, so there we are. And what's your next one, mate?
Well, as a special treat, this is not a Ralph McTell song.
Oh, my goodness.
This is a Mark Knopfler song, Heart Full of Holes. And again, I could have picked one of a large number of Mark Knopfler songs. What I love about Mark Knopfler is the way he combines instruments.
Yeah.
Very cleverly adds in during production and that. And he's just as good live. He's an interesting character to see live. You don't get a lot of communication out of him. In fact, I think the last time we saw him, he probably said 3 words. So you don't get a description of what songs are about and that kind of thing. Which
so he's sort of the more or less the exact opposite of yourself then, really.
Yeah. This song is from his 2007 album, Kill to Get Crimson.
Kill to Get Crimson.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great title for an album.
It is.
Well, here we go, folks. This is Heart Full of Holes by...
Mark Knopfler.
Indeed.
You can tell me your troubles, I'll listen for free. For regulars trust me, it seems. You can come and see Uncle to get through the week. Leave your pledges with me to redeem. Some folks sell their bodies for 10 bob a go. Politicians go pawning their souls, which doesn't make me look too bad, don't you know? Me, with my heart full of holes. All my yesterdays broken, a watch with no face, all battered and old. Bits of the movement all over the place, and a heart full of holes, 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 a heart full of holes. Brass knuckles and banjos are out on the town, at the knees up in Teddy Boy's roll. The gold blocking tackle tells the time upside down. Rock and roll, well, I don't know. Dead people's wedding gifts walk out the door. The clarinet squeals to be free. Accordions hop from the shelves to the floor, start playing
their polkas to me. There's a ringing of bells, the dunderhead's curse. Fingers are pointing at you, and you take work in hell. Be glad it's not worse. Then you get to the back of the queue. Handcuffs and hunting knives clang on the bars. Air pistols shoot out the lights. While the whole wailing wall of electric guitars can shatter the windows down Brick Lane tonight. If one of us dies, love, I think I'll retire. See my boys and my beautiful girls. Garden of Eden, no gates or barbed wire. Who knows? Maybe gates made of pearls. Well, if we go to heaven, and some say we don't, but if there's a reckoning day, please God I'll see you, and maybe I won't have a backpack to go either way. Pledge, dear, I'll keep it for you. It's not gonna go anywhere. But your soul, that is not what I do. There's not a lot I can do there. I remember the officers watching my hand. Repair it or die, I was told. It's a wonder to me, I still don't understand why I ever survived to be old with a heart full of homes. A heart full of homes. A heart full of homes. A heart full of homes.
That was Heart Full of Holes, a very moving track by Mark Knopfler. An excellent track, in fact. In fact, all of these tracks have been excellent, John.
Good.
I must congratulate you on your musical taste.
Right.
Right, so next time you're at the Woodman, you're going to be for a terrible shock, because I'll be playing stuff down there as well. OK, John, what's your next one, mate?
The next one is a song titled Child of Prague. It's an Enda Kenny song, not an Edna Kenny song.
No, I know Enda, yeah.
If you Google Enda Kenny, you get a load of political stuff, because Enda Kenny was the previous Taoiseach of the south of Ireland, of Éire. Anyway, we saw Enda Kenny for the first time at Moira Folk Festival in 2016, and about 3 bars into his first song, we were saying, wow, this guy is brilliant. Book him, book him, book him. He's Dublin-born, has lived in Australia for many years. This song in particular is a classic piece of folk music telling a story. It tells the story of a guy who went to Australia seeking a better life after the Second World War, as many people did. Lots of Italians went to Australia. This particular person was from what would then have been Czechoslovakia.
Oh, right.
In 2016, I actually corresponded with Enda Kenny because I was fascinated by the song. And at that time, this gentleman was still alive and kicking in Australia. So he had a good long life. He may well still be there now. An added fascination for me with this song, again, is that this is an open tuning or an altered tuning. This is in Dadgad.
Oh, another clever one.
Yeah, and I am actually some way through learning this one. So it's off Enda Kenny's 1994 album 12 Songs. And there is, incidentally, a Czech language version of this song by a gentleman named Pavel Pokorny.
Right, so there we have it. This is Child of Prague by Enda Kenny.
Black Country Extra.
It was 1949, and I was working in Lausanne when a letter came from Prague saying, Georgie, don't come home. Take a boat to Canada or to Australia, my son. The Reds are taking over here. You better find some place to run. They took the family hotel we had owned for 100 years. Took my parents as well. I never saw my mother's tears. They took him to a labor camp for what they call re-education. They took everything they owned so they could give it to the nation. So to Australia I came at the age of 23. I was shoved aboard a train with all the other refugees. They fed us tea and lamingtons. We travelled all day down the line till we were dumped at Bonn and Gilbar on Christmas Eve in '49. And 2 days after Christmas, they stood us in a line, picked out all us English-speaking men, left the other ones behind. We were given work on road gangs, doctors, lawyers, side by side, and we took it without whinging. It was work and we had pride. But an accident befell me. I went back to the hotel trade. There wasn't much they had to tell me, and the decent life I made. I ran a cafe in the mountains. I fed 1,000 refugees. They built the snowy river hydro. They were immigrants like me.
it's 1991. I wish my folks were still alive, but I lost them within days of each other. Back in 75. And there's a letter here from Prague. Mr. Havel says come home after 41 long years. Come and take back what you own. It was 1949 and I was working in Lausanne when a letter came from Prague saying, Georgie, don't come home. Take a boat to Canada or to Australia, my son. The Reds are taking over here. You better find some place to run. You better find some place to run. You better find some place to run.
That was Child of Prague by Enda Kenny. That was an excellent track, John. Well done. When was the last time you saw Enda?
At the Woodman in... I have no idea when it was.
Well, if that Woodman, it would have been about 2 years ago, wouldn't it? I suppose.
That would be
yeah.
it. Well, we've lost a year and a half, haven't we?
Well,
so
we have more
so
or
it was
less.
actually 6 months ago, wasn't it?
I suppose, in reality, yeah. Anyway, I think Busby's got something to ask.
What's going on at the Woodman Des?
Well, Buzz, I'm glad you asked that question, because we're lifting some segments from our virtual Woodman Folk Club. This is a set of video shows, I should say, that I've put together to keep the woodman alive during this rather nasty virus thing that's going around out there. So what we're going to do, we're going to play some clips, and it's the What's Going On at the Woodman Des segment. And this one is a clip which is featuring myself and my good lady wife, Deborah, and we're singing a song called So Sing Along.
Derry and Deb run the Woodman Folk Club for us, and in addition are always ready with a suitable song for every occasion. This is a song for the Woodman called So Sing Along. A huge welcome please for Derry and Deb.
There's a place down by the water where all the boats are narrow and long, and this place is full of laughter and song, a special place where everyone just gets along. Those double doors, they hold a secret you can share if you like. Just walk inside and breathe the atmosphere in. The feeling's rare and you will never let it go. Now you might call it culture and you might call it fun, but a smile will cross your face now the music has begun, and you will sing the chorus, and you'll clap with the beat. The rhythm fills your body from your head down to your feet. So sing along. The woodman's waiting for you. So sing along. Or you can play us a tune, transfix us with a poem, or tell a story or two. So sing along. Let the music rescue you. Just once or twice, then it's an old friend, someone you knew from long ago. Those times were good, and every day was a joy. They're back again, now is the time, enjoy yourself. You might call it culture, and you might call it fun, but a smile will cross your face, now the music has begun. And you will sing the chorus, and you'll clap with the beat. The rhythm fills your body from your head down to your feet. So sing along. The woodman's waiting for you. So sing along. Or you can play us a tune, transfix us with a poem, or tell a story or two. So sing along, let the music rescue you. So sing along. The woodman's waiting for you. So sing along. Or you can play us a tune, transfix us with a poem, or tell a story or two. So sing along, let the music rescue you.
Unlike the hokey cokey, that song really is what it's all about. Derry and Deb, everyone.
And that was a segment from our very own Woodman Virtual Folk Club. And I have to say, a great big thank you there to Mr. Bryn Phillips. Bryn Phillips, otherwise known as MC Bryn, he is the one that carries the show and makes it all glue together, basically. So Bryn is our Woodman glue. So thank you very much, Bryn. Bryn will actually be featuring on my next show. So he is a very, very good songwriter, and some of his songs are absolutely hilarious. Some of his songs actually make you think very, very hard about what the story is. Having said that, hello, John.
Hello again.
Hello, Carol.
Hello, Derry.
There we are. This sounds like the beginning of a song, doesn't it? John, when did you start picking up your guitar for folk music and things like that?
Well, the first time I picked a guitar up was just after I passed my 11 plus.
Wow.
because my dad bought me a guitar.
For passing your 11 plus.
He did, and as many and guitar lessons for life,
Oh.
which I thought was a bargain. But he was very smart because he knew I'd last about 3 weeks, get into the formal stuff and jack it in. So I got about 3 weeks into it, and I jacked it in, and then the guitar got put under a bed for about 8 years, I suppose.
I had a guitar like that, yeah.
Yeah. So
I made a terrible mistake one night. We hadn't got an upstairs toilet, you see. Made a terrible mistake. Went under the bed for something, and it wasn't. But swiftly moving on.
yes, absolutely. I bought my first real guitar in 1971. And I suppose, as for getting into folk music, I think John Richards is to blame.
Oh, good old Johnny Cole. He keeps popping up in your life, doesn't he?
Yeah. Well, I realised that, thinking about all this. John Richards and I went to the same school. We both went to High Arkle Grammar School. And that's not being elitist, mentioning that it was a grammar school, but there were 2 schools on the site, and one was a special school. So I'd just like to point out I didn't go there. John,
You do surprise me, actually, John. There we are.
well, that's why I pointed
you
out.
probably could have done.
There you are, you
Thank
see.
you,
The voice of authority.
John was 2 years above me, which is why he looks so much older now. And you can edit that out. And the first thing I remember with John was that, you know how teachers at school will, to find time for marking and things, well, they used to do this anyway, they'll sort of get somebody to entertain a class so they don't have to do anything, so they can go and sneak off and do the marking.
Yes.
And I particularly remember geography lesson, and it must have been around exam marking time, and John and some of his friends were brought in to entertain us as a class. And I remember him singing various songs from Jungle Book.
The King of the Swingers and all that.
Which, of course, is folk music, but we won't get into that. So
With a very, very, very broad brush, yes.
absolutely. And John also ran, for a time, a after-school folk club, which I and then my then girlfriend would go to.
What a wonderful person he was.
Yeah.
Is.
Yeah.
He was.
He's still
actually.
alive. He is still alive. Hello, John. Sorry about that if you're listening, mate.
Well, when we were at college, John and I met at college, and John ran the folk club there. And John Richards, actually, was wonderful, wasn't he? Because
He was
came
very
over,
useful.
He came over week after week after week, I guess because he wanted the playing time.
Yeah.
But it was amazing for us because we knew whoever else we got, or if we couldn't get anybody for that week, we'd got a guest artist of, some magnitude.
Of a high calibre, as they say, yes?
He was very generous. And
he was free.
He was free, and he introduced us to a lot of other local acts. I
Yeah.
remember Bill Caddick coming over.
Oh, good
Well,
old Bill.
Bill-
Larry.
point.
Bill did the ill-fated, very last Saltlead Teachers Training College folk club. He did.
All right.
Wonderful
That
chap.
sounds like a scary place.
Well, yeah, the folk clubs have been very successful, haven't they? John came over and he was the main act on at least one occasion, and he was in the first iterations of the John Richards band.
Yeah.
I think Ivor Smallpiece at one stage. Yes,
I've a small piece. Now you
Yes.
are going back somewhat.
We are.
I must say to our listeners that I am going to actually have John in as a guest. He's been mentioned quite a lot in this show.
He can get his
and
own
he's not
back.
actually here, so I'm going to have to give him the right to reply. I'm sure he's got some stories about you as well, John, which would be very
Yes,
interesting.
revenge, I think it will
Yeah,
be.
that's
So,
right. Of course, it's only fair. It's only fair.
Well, John had been running the Saracen's Head prior to that folk club, so I knew him anyway, and I was a regular attender there, and I'd been to John's a couple of his recording sessions when he recorded with Bev Pegg. But John was very, very handy. So we had a good time. 1975-6 was a wonderful year.
It was.
The weather was glorious.
And was that the year you got married?
No. That was the year we met.
Nice recovery.
The weather was wonderful. I met Carol, and I was being paid a grant, as we both were, by a local authority
Oh wow,
to attend college. I was actually being paid.
those were the days, eh?
Absolutely, I was being paid to make guitars because I was training to be a woodwork teacher. So, in our final year, we were given carte blanche, really, to as long as you'd done okay in the first 2 years, you could do your own project. So I chose to make a pair of guitars.
Right, that's great stuff. We're going to have to sort of look towards winding up now. I've been Derry Jones, John's been John Hall, and Carol's been Carol Hall. We've put together for our live artists. And what it is simply we take our live artists, plonk them into the Swinging Cat studio, make them sing for their supper, sing and play, tell poetry, whatever it is. In this case, it's singing songs and playing guitar. And it's our good friend John Hoare, who's going to be entertaining us for the next hour on his live Gibson guitar. Well, it's not live, actually, because if it was live, it would kill him when he touched it. But it's over to you, John. This next track is called Silver Coin. Where did you hear this one from?
It's a song written by Terry Hiscock of Hunter Musket. And Hunter Musket were a group, I think they classed themselves as rock folk, or folk rock, which I heard around about the mid-70s as a support act to, I bet you can't guess who.
Ralph McTurner, maybe?
Absolutely correct, yes. Birmingham Town Hall.
I was going to say Black Sabbath, but there we are.
No, this is on a 1973 Hunter Musket album. Really, really great group. Thoroughly enjoyed the gig. One of those fabulous things where you go along to see a main artist and you really like the support as well. So it was fabulous. And this song appeared in the middle of their set. Just a solo singer singing it. I presume it was Terry. Single spotlight, nice and atmospheric. Loved it, absolutely. And Hunter Musket are still gigging.
Are they really?
They are indeed. They do look a little older than they did in the mid-70s.
Well, don't we all, eh?
And I'm looking forward to maybe going and finding them somewhere at some stage in the near future.
Post-COVID scare and all that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that's. And were they actually folk rock, or were they just folk purporting to be folk rock?
Well, what is folk music? We're back to that again, aren't we? Let's not go there. I
know that the answer to life, the universe, and everything, and that's 42 apparently.
Well, you did touch on this in your first show, didn't you?
Did I?
You also touched on what is folk music and failed miserably to answer the question.
Ah, well, I would just been antagonistic there, you see.
Well, the answer to the question for anybody who's listening is that folk music is music played either side of a raffle.
There we are, you see, folk music, the definition of discuss. Right, here we are, back at the Swinging Cat, ready for John's maestro part. Take it away, John.
To be lonely, and what it is to be without a home. But I've a friend nearby who loves me rain or shine. Don't ask me why, but her younger eyes are so much older eyes than mine. Well read, wouldn't need to ask her for a lead. And I read what her eyes said, I knew that I'd nothing more to read, nothing more to say, nothing more to do, but throw all my words away on someone who needs them but can't find a woman like you. But there were others before me. The sound of beauty travels far, and I hear it sweet and clear, and it rings like a silver coin thrown down on stone. Though I'm lost in a crowd, I just know she's around me somehow.
Studio and take a bit crowded. Well done, mate.
Thank you very much.
That was excellent. Excellent track. We're just going to switch back to the mics now in the studio. Here we go. And that was great, John. That was really good. Silver Coin, eh? By what? Who's it again?
It's a Hunter Musket song.
Hunter Musket. That's a great name for a band, that is, isn't it? Eh?
Indeed.
Eh? Well, very, very well played, if I may say so, mate. Very well played indeed.
Thank you.
Shame about the singing, but there we are. No, it was excellent, honestly. Excellent track. And you're going to tell us about the next one you're going to do from The Pit, yeah?
Yes, I indeed am. This is The Tin Man. This is a song that I wrote.
I'm going to have to correct you there. It's called The Tin Mon.
Sorry, it's The Tin Mon.
Oh.
A song that I wrote. This was written about a thing called the Man Engine, which was the UK's largest mechanical puppet. It's about twice the height of a double-decker bus, and it weighs about 40 tonnes. It was the winner of the Best Arts Project category of the 2017 National Lottery Awards. Many people will have seen it on television.
We've seen it, John.
Indeed, we've seen it in the flesh.
It frightened the what's it out of me, didn't it?
Well, this thing was built from equipment salvaged from old tin mines down in Cornwall, and it was named after the first mechanical mine lift, a man engine, which was installed at Tresavern copper mines in 1842.
Blimey.
There you go.
1842.
And this strange...
47 then, isn't it?
That's an old joke.
Yes.
This strange puppet was built to mark the 10th anniversary of the Cornwall and West Devon mining landscape being added to the list of UNESCO World Heritage Sites.
Wow, that's a mouthful, mate.
And this thing drew massive crowds in 2016 when it was carted around from, I think there were 20 different venues, starting at Tavistock and ending up in Geaver Mine in Penzance.
Wow.
I decided to write the song after some friends had sung the Show of Hands song, Cousin Jack, which many people will know.
An excellent song indeed.
Absolutely, super chorus song. I got to wondering what the man engine that I came to call the Tin Man would make of the song, which kind of in a way commemorates or glorifies the tin mining industry, bearing in mind that the tin mining industry, as all mining industries, have killed hundreds of thousands of people through the years.
So the Tin Man is like an analogue for a miner himself, really, I suppose.
Well, my wife described it as personification. I'd given this thing a brain and thoughts. So. Yeah,
well, I think that's probably the best way of describing it, because if you've got something, I know this is an inanimate object, can't get my words out, but if it was real, it's probably how it would be feeling, because it wouldn't be glorifying anything. It would actually be lamenting the loss of life over centuries, not just
Yes.
over years, over centuries.
I think folk songs are more honest than a lot of other songs, in as much as they include the story, but it's warts and all, isn't it?
I think so. I think
You know,
so.
there is always a disaster or something going on.
Well, a lot of folk songs are sort of notoriously dark, aren't they? And
They are, especially when Bryn writes them,
well,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Or nobody turns the lights on.
or nobody turns the lights on. Indeed, yes. Sorry, John, we've interrupted you. You know.
This was the first chorus song I ever wrote, and strictly speaking, the chorus doesn't really belong with the subject matter. The chorus is actually taken from an expression that I found in a mine log in Llanberis Slate Museum, where basically
I've been there.
yeah, well, basically the log was like an olden times accident book, but of course there were a lot of accidents in mines.
Certainly were.
And where there was a month where nobody died, which actually was a rarity, they put in the expression, by the grace of God, no souls were lost in this month.
Oh, wow.
So that's where that came from, and I threw it in. Just a word of explanation on the song. Bal maidens, bal is the Cornish word for mine. Bal maidens were sort of mine workers. And bearing in mind that girls as young as 6 were reportedly employed breaking rocks above ground in the old bad days. Many bal maidens were rendered infertile by the arsenic and sulphur fumes. And as a historical note, the last working bal maiden ceased hammering in 1951.
Blimey,
And the
is that
last bal maiden drew breath, and last drew breath in 1968. Interestingly, if we have time,
You do, yeah.
they're about to begin mining again in Cornwall
I
because
heard this, yeah.
they've discovered traces of lithium, which of course every mobile phone has in a battery, and so lithium's the new tin.
The rare metals, yes. I mean, I suppose it would have been a sort of byproduct of the mining back in the day.
Yeah, they probably threw a lot of it away. That'd be a shame, wouldn't it?
That's right. All those mobile phones they've just thrown away. Some things never change, do they? Anyway, here's our great friend John Hoare with his song Tin Man.
Should have done Lorana Loca, shouldn't I?
Hello, listeners. Welcome back to the Swinging Cat. And we're going to go with our friend John Hoare. Take it away, John.
We all stand and look on in wonder as we watch the man engine rise. Children with some trepidation, old folk with tears in their eyes. A 40-ton scrap metal puppet, bal maidens pulling his ropes. A ghost comes to life right before us, stirring our fears and our hopes. If the Tin Man could talk, he would tell you, these are the words he would say. By the grace of God, no souls have been lost in a Cornish mine today. In a Cornish mine today. He's making his way through the county, all the way down to the coast, where the seams that run under the ocean were the ones that the miners feared most. If the Tin Man could choose, he would stay here, happy to be above ground, out in the sun and the wind and the rain, content in the peace that he's found. Tin Man could talk, he would tell you. These are the words he would say. By the grace of God, no souls have been lost in a Cornish mine today. In a Cornish mine today. Cornish mist thick with nostalgia, a reminder of what we have lost. Communities built up through centuries. Ah, but the Tin Man, he knows what it cost. If the Tin Man could talk, he would tell you. These are the words he would say. By the grace of God, no souls have been lost in a Cornish mine today. In a Cornish mine today.
That was great.
Thank you very much.
Fantastic track, that is, John. You should be very proud of it. Well done.
Thank you.
Well played. And it's back to the real mics now.
Country Extra.
And that was the Tin Man, or Tin Man, from, what's your album called, John?
It's called The Tin Man, funnily enough.
How about that? What an excellent title for an album.
And it has on the front a wonderful picture of the man engine, i.e. the large mechanical puppet, taken by my wife, Carol.
Carol, I was down Tavistock a few weeks back, before they kicked me out. And I saw in an art shop 2 photographs, well, pseudo-photographs. I think they were actually paintings of photographs, if that makes sense. And they were both of the man engine. Which is, as John just pointed out, a huge mechanical tin puppet. And not one of them was as good as the one that you took, Carol.
Thank you very much. That's very kind. It was only taken on a phone. It's just, I think, it was just so atmospheric the whole evening, wasn't it? So
it was. I was there.
Just a stroke of good luck, I think. But it came out well.
We were all there, weren't we?
We
watching the kids run off in terror.
We were. It was amazing.
It was. It was an amazing sight. Get to see this man engine if it's ever on tour again. I mean, it's a fantastic sight. Almost as impressive as your song about it, then, John. Almost, and not quite as impressive as Carol's photograph of it.
No.
So I have to say that was an excellent photograph. Moving swiftly on, the next one from the Swinging Cat is The Girl from the Hiring Fair. I suspect we might know who's done this one best.
I've forgotten who wrote it. It's a Ralph McTell song.
Oh,
isn't it?
there it is, yes.
Yes,
It's the arty
This is
word.
becoming a bit repetitious, I do apologise. I could have picked any one of dozens of Ralph McTell songs to sing. This is a lovely tale, which I've once heard him described as 18th century rural England meets Mills and Boone.
Oh,
which is it's a really nice introduction to it. Ralph is my musical hero, as you'll have all gathered by now.
We sort of get in that
probably,
ilk.
Probably
now,
didn't need saying. He actually wrote this song for Fairport Convention, and you'll find it on a 1985 Gladys's Leap album, or Gladys Leap. There's an apostrophe issue there. I'll keep out of that discussion.
It's probably a printing issue rather than a grammatic issue, I would have thought. Yeah.
But Ralph actually, he released it 2 years later, approximately, on his Bridge of Sighs album.
Indeed, the Hiring Fair is the version I were familiar with and used to play way back in the day, but of course wouldn't dare now you're here. Is indeed the version that was done by Fairport Convention. It is a great version, and I've seen them do it many, many times. And I think they still do. It's still in their set. And they have a backdrop, a film playing in the background, a lovely little film of waving cornfields and pretty women dancing through and things like that.
Oh, right.
But there we are. That just sets the scene for this one. It is a love song, isn't it? I suppose, John.
It
really,
is. It's a romantic song. Yes.
It's a romantic song. See, we call them love songs in the Black Country, don't we? Eh? Over in Cannock, they call them romantic songs. But never mind. It's a lovely song anyway. This is the Hiring Fair by Ralph McTell. Right, we switched over and back from the Swinging Cat live with my friend John, who's going to do us another track. Take it away, John.
I went down to the hiring fair for to sell my labour, and I noticed a maid in the very next row, and I hoped she'd be my neighbour. Imagine then, oh my delight, when the farmer picked us both. I spoke not a word on the cart to the farm, but my heart beat in my throat. My lodging was dry and my master fair, and I gave him full measure. But my envy grew like corn in the fields, for in his house was my treasure. And I'd watch her carry water and drive cows from the byre, and the heat from the sun made the corn grow strong, and with it my desire. See her in my dreaming and in my dreams caress, her eyes, her lips, her dark brown hair, then the curves beneath her dress. When harvest time it came at last, so heavy was the task, that the women and the men worked side by side, and I had her near at last. I swung harder with my scythe, few words between us passed, and I cursed my tongue-tied youthfulness and hoped she'd hear my heart. When all was safely gathered in, we sat down to rest, and my trembling fingers touched her arm, and she placed them on her breast. She turned to me, the sun went down, and all my senses reeled, and we lay there on the scented ground, and the moon hung over the field. She was safely gathered in my arms when from the barn drifted the sound of a violin, and we hurried back to the farm, and all were dancing in the lantern light. Music filled the air, and I thanked my stars for the harvest moon and the girl from the hiring fair. I thank my stars for the harvest the smooth. I'm a girl from the hiring fair.
Nice one, mate. Nice one. One of my favourite songs, that is, of all time.
Yeah, it's a good song. Good song.
Yeah. Okay, back to the real microphones now. And here we are back in the studio. And as I said earlier, that was an excellent song and very well played, sir.
I'm glad you liked it.
Very well played indeed. The Girl from the Hiring Fair, Ralph McTell. Now, tell us about your next song here, which you wrote.
This is a song titled The Ballad of Ron Hopper. And before I do anything else, can I just say I'd like to offer my condolences to the family and friends of Ron Hopper.
Indeed.
None of whom I've ever met, but I've always said that I will make a point of doing that as a mark of respect. This song was written having read a newspaper article which hit the national press in several papers, which appeared in April of 2016. The previous year, 3 friends, all from Hull, went fishing in Thailand as a retirement present to themselves. They were Ron Hopper, about whom the song is written, who was formerly a marine engineer, a gentleman by the name of Paul Fairbrass, a barge master, and Cliff Dale, a radio operator. So they obviously worked on the barges up in Hull. They enjoyed their holiday so much that they vowed that they would return again the following year. Sadly, Ron Hopper was diagnosed with aggressive liver cancer upon return home and passed away in December of 2015.
Oh, dear.
So he never made the trip. And after his cremation, Ron's wife, Judith, took half of his ashes and scattered them on a Caribbean beach, I assume because they'd been there on holiday.
Mm-hmm.
The song actually tells the story of the other half of Ron's ashes. Now, I've never met any of these people, but I did manage to contact, in the writing of the song and the putting together of the CD, both Paul and Chris, and both have copies of the CD, and indeed I actually sent them a copy which they would pass on to Judith, his widow.
Right.
And a bit of information that will make sense of the song. A boilie, fishermen out there will know. A boilie is a form of fishing bait, often containing an exotic mixture of tastes, like curry and things like that.
Oh, I see.
Which apparently carp like a bit of spice, and this is what they used for catching carp. They nicknamed this mixture Purple Ronnie. And
there's been adverts about that.
Absolutely.
It's a completely different thing.
I think so, yeah. You've been on the internet again. The 2 Siamese carp that are mentioned in this song, the first one caught by Ron himself was 150 pounds.
Whoa.
And the second one was 180 pounds. That's 13 stone, give or take, in real money. The world record for a Siamese carp is actually only 134 pounds. But the International Game Fishing Association stopped listing them because they come from what they call protected waters.
Oh, right.
Basically, they're fed up so that people can go on holiday to Thailand and pull out these big fish. Funnily enough, there was a programme on telly about 3 or 4 weeks ago on the subject. These are not fish. These are monsters.
Excuse me.
Unbelievable size.
So great big fish.
Big fish, big fish.
I've got a bit of a frog in my throat talking about fish. Oh, excuse me.
Probably use it to catch a carp.
I think we could, yes. What are you saying about the size of my mouth?
No comment.
So this is it's one of those songs that it's a difficult line to tread, really, isn't it? Because it's a comedic song. I think it's fair to say.
It is, particularly at the end, and I have the newspaper cutting if at any time anyone doubts the validity, but everything in this song is actually out of the newspaper article and is true-ish.
I think you're very brave taking on something like this, because it is a tragedy, of course, but it is it's a wonderful way to celebrate somebody's life.
I couldn't have put it better.
And I think it deserves an airing. and as you say, sympathies to the family. But here it is, Ron Hopper. It's called The Ballad of Ron Hopper. Sorry, The Ballad of Ron Hopper by John Hoare. No, you don't need any new teeth. You can't use the ones you've got. Anyway, welcome back to the Swinging Cat Studios, and we go with another song written by our friend John Hoare. Away you go, John.
Some lads they go to Thailand for the ladies, some for boys. Some they get a mixture, you pay your money and take your choice. But when Ron and Paul and Cliff retired and thought they'd earned a treat, they booked a week in the Jurassic Mountain fishing retreat. With swimming pools and waterfalls and 17 kinds of fish, this tranquil lake had everything a fisherman could wish. And on the last night over curry, as hot as a fisherman's friend, they vowed that they'd return again next year and do it all again. Well, Ron Hopper caught a whopper, but he soon ran out of luck. When he got home, he found out something terminal had struck. So time was short when Paul and Cliff both sat down with their friend to reminisce, but soon their talking turned to how it all might end. Ron said the doc had told him next year's trip he wouldn't make. He'd be long gone, so he asked them if his ashes they would take. And round the lake at sunset maybe they would gently scatter. But with impish smiles they hatched a plan they thought might suit him better. Decent time had passed, two grieving fishermen returned, with heavy hearts and carrying their best mate in an urn. And when they mixed up their boilies, they mixed ashes with the bait. Scattering had seemed to them to be no way to treat their mate. Was it destiny, spiritual, just some kind of fate? Well, it took 3 hours to land the giant carp that took that bait. Weighed and photographed, they named him Ronnie for their friend, then slipped him back into the lake so he could live to fight again. Spirit and a little body too. And when they got back home there was just one thing left to do: preserve the last remaining boilie, seal his spirit in. You know they always say about Ron, seal it does what it says on the tin.
That's a great song too, that is. It's difficult to mix humour with tragedy.
And,
you've done it,
and fish.
You've done it there. And fish. Yes, you managed to bring in fish. Back to the real minds. And that was The Ballad of Ron Hopper by John Hoare, our guest in the studio today, together with his lovely wife, Carol. Say hello, Carol.
Hello, Carol.
There we go. Oh, yes, somebody always has to do that one, you see.
Getting a bit old, isn't it?
It
really,
is.
that?
Well, never get tired of it. Never get tired of it. There we are. Right, the next song you've got for us, which is live from the Swinging Cat, of course, is called Accident of Birth. Could you tell us a little bit about that one then, John?
I can. Not a huge amount.
You've got to talk for 5 minutes on this at least, you know that, don't you?
I'll just talk slowly. Accident of Birth is a song written by a gentleman by the name of Steve O'Donoghue. And you're
right,
expecting me to tell you a lot about Steve, and I have no information whatsoever about him. I know that he is active in southern folk clubs, so it's probably an accident of birth, isn't it?
That's the one.
Or something like that. I heard this song when I saw a lady by the name of Minnie Birch doing a support slot at the Red Lion in Birmingham. She sang it a cappella, as in fact the original is sung. But I'm not talented enough or clever enough to do a cappella, so I've stuck a bit of guitar on it. I've picked this song because I think lyrically it's outstanding.
Right.
It'll probably never be a famous song, and I think that's because the first verse relates to football and football supporting.
Well, it'd be a very topical song.
It would indeed, as we it would today.
I mean,
as we're recording.
When the show goes out, people say, "Oh, I remember football."
Yeah, but I'd find that not a lot of folkies are particularly interested in football, so I think the first verse might slightly turn people off. Anyway, the lyrics are outstanding. Melodically, well, judge for yourselves, obviously. But I think it's a song that has a fabulous message in it, and it's worthy of listening to.
When did you first hear the song then? As you say, at the Red Lion, was it?
Red Lion,
yeah?
so...
An excellent folk club, by the way.
Absolutely, yes. If you take off the 18 months that we haven't been alive, it was probably a year before that, so it's probably 2.5 years
So quite
ago.
recently, then.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And interestingly, Minnie Birch has actually done a recording of this, which is accompanied. There's a piano accompaniment on it, which is very, very different from a cappella and from what I'm going to do.
Right.
So Steve O'Donoghue will probably have a fit if he ever hears this.
And do you know if you're still gigging, or
I don't.
anything about that?
I managed to find when I saw Minnie do the song, I researched it on the internet, as we all do, of course, and I managed to find. I think it's a sound clip, or just one of these things where you don't see any pictures, you just see the wavy lines.
Like on SoundCloud and places like that. Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, that was a very technical explanation, wasn't it? I managed to find that, and it's quite a rough recording, and I have managed to find him doing it at a folk festival somewhere or other. But this is not a well-known song.
So do you think it might be that it's not being sort of recorded per se off an album, so to speak?
Very possibly. I don't know if he has an album. I don't think he does. But certainly it's a song worthy of singing and listening to.
Yeah, well, there's a challenge to all of our listeners now, all three of them. Go out there, see if you can find anything on... what was the guy's name again? Sorry, Steve?
Steve O'Donoghue.
Steve O'Donoghue. I bet that's a difficult one to spell as well.
Yes, it's all about the apostrophe, really, isn't it?
It's all about the apostrophe, yes. But, I mean, this one, it's Steve O'Donoghue, Accident of Birth, and it's a version by our good friend John Hoare, live from the Swinging Cat. So here we go. Well, we've switched over microphones, and we're now live from the Swinging Cat. And my good friend John Hoare is going to play us a few tunes, as we've just mentioned. So... OK, John? Take it away when you're ready, mate.
I support my local football team as my father did before. A shiver still runs down my spine whenever my team scores. We hate our local rivals and the colours that they wear. And every time we play them there is hatred in the air. But does it really matter? Maybe the truth for what it's worth. Is the football team that I support's an accident of birth? And if I'd been born down the way, it's not that hard to see that I would be the same as them, but I would still be me. So it doesn't really matter, and here's the truth for what it's worth. The football team that I support's an accident of birth. Born and raised in this fair land as my mother was before. We support our brave young soldiers when they go off to fight a war. And we sing our national anthem and salute our country's flag. And a hatred for the enemy grows with every body bag. But maybe it doesn't matter, perhaps the truth for what it's worth is the country I was born in's just an accident of birth. And if I'd been born down the way, it's not that hard to see that I would be the same as them, but I would still be me. So it doesn't really matter, and here's the truth for what it's worth. The country I was born in's just an accident of birth. Weekend I will worship as my parents did before, to our God, the only true God, who'll be waiting at the door to let us into paradise, just as our scriptures tell. And all those who follow false gods, well, they'll surely burn in hell. Or maybe it doesn't matter, perhaps the truth for what it's worth is the God to whom we pray is just an accident of birth. And if I'd been born down the way, it's not that hard to see that I would be the same as them, but I would still be me. So it doesn't really matter, and here's the truth for what it's worth. The God to whom we pray is just an accident of birth.
There you are, John. I'm proxy clapping for the Woodman Fan Club and all the audience out there. Well done, mate.
Thank you very much.
That was cracking. We're going to switch back to the normal mics now. Hang on just a second.
It's all about you. Black Country Extra.
That was Accident of Birth by Steve O'Donoghue. Well, I would say that was a song with very deep hidden meanings, really, wasn't it? It wasn't just about football, was it?
No, it isn't about football, but I only mention that because it might be a hurdle people might not get over. I think it's lyrically outstanding. It's the lyrics of that song are. If I'd written that, I'd be very, very, very proud of myself.
I think you're right. I mean, it's about life, the universe, and everything. What do you reckon on that one, Carol? It is a very deep meaning song.
It's clever. It's very clever because it's something that every single person can relate to, because it talks about how, where you were born, the circumstances into which you were born, when you were born, shape the person that you become as an adult.
That's very true, yeah.
Your background, your upbringing shapes who you are, how you behave with other people, your attitudes to different things.
Your life choices, I suppose.
Your life choices, your tolerances.
Yeah.
Your prejudices.
True,
and this
yeah.
song kind of envelops all of that
Well,
in a very
it
succinct
does.
manner. It's very clever.
Well, it's an excellent way of sort of expressing things like that, isn't it? You know, in a song.
It's quite a dangerous song to write, actually, thinking about it. I spent most of my life as in sales, and you learn early on in sales there are certain.
Is this like as in selling things to people, or as in boats?
As in selling things to people.
I couldn't see you up a mast.
No.
But moving on.
Yes, I've completely lost where I was going with
He
that
doesn't
now.
like heights.
No. when you're people facing in sales, you learn you don't bring up topics like politics. You avoid religion, and football's a good one to keep out of as well. But actually, that song, it's got religion, although it's not specific. It's political. It's got football. So yeah, I think it's a brave song.
It's using it as an analogue, though, isn't it? It's not directly discussing
No,
those
it's not.
things, I suppose. But you know,
In a way, it's like Vin Garbit's song, isn't it? About Ireland. The name of which is now escaping me because I'm trying to think about it. But he wrote a song.
not Song for Ireland.
No, he wrote a song
Oh, Ron, another one.
that basically was about the Troubles, but was acceptable to both sides.
Well, that's what you might call a dicey subject.
Well, absolutely, but he got away with it, and it was well known as a song that both parties could listen to. And if I could only think of the name of the song.
Well, that's just another challenge for our listeners out there. You three out there, can you listen? Sit up straight. That's it. Now, we're looking for a Vin Garbett song about Ireland. It's not Song for Ireland, but it's one about the Troubles. Oh, the Troubles of Air. Is that what it's called?
Troubles of Erin.
The Troubles of Erin. We were close.
Yes, I should have known that because I've actually sung that on stage with Anthony John Clark at the end of...
Oh, you little name dropper, you.
Yes, absolutely. I'll get his name in. He'll kill me if I don't. I accompanied him doing a tribute to Vin Garbett, who'd in fact died earlier that year, and Anthony John Clark was a late replacement for him as the headline act.
Oh, right.
Please don't get the idea I was the headline act. I was just a bloke there to keep him company. I don't know why he invited me, to be honest, but there you go. So,
No, that's because Anthony John Clark is a fine musician and a very, very nice chap.
yes, he
He
is.
is, undoubtedly.
Yes.
And if ever you get to see Anthony John Clark, you will be drawn into his lovely, soft Northern Irish humour. And it really is a show to behold, isn't it?
Indeed.
Right, I mean, that's accident of birth taken care of.
Yes.
The next one you're going to do for us, so it says on my little bit of paper, because I haven't got a brain or a memory anymore, it's A Nation's Coming Home. Now,
That's
I've
long.
heard this one because it's an excellent track.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I wrote this. I wrote this because I needed a Christmas song because I'm not religious in any way, shape, or form, and Christmases in folk clubs are a bit odd. I think
They certainly are.
they have absurd things called pantomimes, which I find very
Oh.
very strange.
Dreadful things, dreadful things.
And prior to the pantomime, resident singers like myself are expected to get up and do a song. And I didn't want to sing anything Christmassy or religious or anything, so I actually wrote this song so I'd have them to sing. About 20 years ago?
So you wrote this song for the Woodman.
Yes.
He did.
I did.
How about that then? That's
Yeah.
very kind of you.
The Woodman not mentioned in it, though.
Oh, look, I shall mention the Woodman now. We all go to the Woodman Folk Club, Ashwood Marina, Ashwood Lower Lane, King Swinford. How about that? We'll give the marina a mention.
Absolutely.
Come on every Friday night when it's not diseased. Okay?
Right.
It's a wonderful night out. Don't miss it.
We have a jolly good laugh, don't we?
We do.
Yes. My wife Deborah runs it with me, Derry, and we have a jolly good MC in Bryn Phillips. Excellent MC, Bryn. So, and we're very flattered that you've written this song for us, John. It really is cool. And we're glad you like the pantomime as well.
Yeah, I love the pantomime. He lied. Anyway, the history to the song is that about 20 years ago, my wife and I went for a dirty weekend in Dublin.
Excuse me, we went for a cultural weekend in Dublin.
Okay.
I believe you, John.
I know why I went. And anyway, it involved us flying into and out of Dublin Airport in the week prior to Christmas.
All right.
And Dublin Airport is an incredibly emotional place because of all the people returning home. And it struck us then.
Yeah.
The feeling is something that we always get back. If you watch the film
Love
Actually, there's like a sort of a montage at the end of people greeting one another at airports.
All right.
And every time I see that, I think of Dublin Airport. So I decided to write the song and try and kind of capture the feeling. It's a bit sort of... I suppose if you were Irish and you heard it, you'd think, it's a bit corny about drinking and going home. And that.
I suppose it's difficult in a way because there are quite a few Irish penned songs about leaving and returning and being away from
Yeah.
Ireland itself. So
Yeah.
you're on sort of a solid ground there, I suppose.
Yeah, I don't think Ireland really needed another song about it written by me, but he got it anyway. So yeah.
I think what struck me about it was when we were at the airport during that weekend, both when we flew in and when we left, it was very emotional. It was very atmospheric. There were Christmas trees and Christmas lights everywhere.
Yeah.
But it was the feeling of absolute joy, and I think that's what stayed with me.
Yeah. That spread throughout the airport.
That spread throughout the airport, and it didn't matter where you were or who you spoke to. There was this feeling of relief that people were home, and an absolute joy from the people receiving those who'd just got off an aeroplane.
Yeah.
And I think John's captured it beautifully in the song, which is why it's probably one of my favourite ones of the ones that he's written. I think it's beautiful.
It is a lovely song, and this I remember we recorded this on your album, didn't we?
We did.
And your album, The Tin Man. Can we buy that anywhere, or are people going to have to phone in and sort of ask you for it?
Well, yes, you'd have to email me or something. Is that
That's
how
it.
we work?
You buy plenty of John's albums, yeah? Because he needs the money, let's face it. Well, judge you by the shirt he's wearing anyway, but you can't see that, can you?
Well, any proceeds of sales have actually gone to Primrose Hospice.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
So my friend Keith Judson works there, and
Did you give some copies to Keith for his sale? Because he does go around the places, and he's got Keith Judson, by the way.
So. I shall do so.
Keith Judson, by the way, is a good friend of ours, a good friend of the Woodman, and he's an excellent musician as well himself.
Mm-hmm.
As I told him when he first turned up at the Woodman, "Yo, hey, a bad picker for the vicar," and which he seemed to like. Well, he smiled anyway. Well, it could have been wind, I suppose, but I think he did like it.
Well, well, Keith was very kind to me the first time I performed at the Woodman, because we turned.
Well, we all were, John. Let's face it.
Well, yes, it was very appreciated. But we turned up and went for a few weeks. I went to some singers' nights, and before I sort of thought, yeah, go on then, I'll have a go at this, because I hadn't sung in public for 40 years.
Wow, John, that's a long time.
The last time I did was the summer of '76, when we had our last ill-fated folk club at the college. And I got up on stage to sing, and I hadn't considered nerves. But about 4 feet from the stage, I started to shake.
Oh, dear.
I thought either I'm ill or I'm nervous.
Well, we all just assumed that you were an alcoholic.
Yes. But I actually sang, the first song I sang was Silver Coin, which I did earlier, and I made an absolute complete mess of it.
I have to explain to our listeners, you three, sit up. Yeah, you three out there. When John says he made an absolute mess of it, he doesn't really make an absolute
mess. No, he
mess.
did.
He doesn't. No, he doesn't. He thinks he has.
Okay.
But he's actually such a good player that, he may have played a 13 flat and ninth instead of a 14 flat and ninth or something stupid. Nobody else would know. But it gets John going, doesn't it? It's fair to say you're a bit of a perfectionist, mate.
Well, I wasn't that night. But I remember I was going to do something else afterwards, which was quite intricate. And I remember thinking, this is a disaster. Do Streets of London. So I did Streets of London. But to come back to what I was saying, after I'd finished and scuttled back to the table to be consoled by Carol, Keith Judson came over to me and he said, I thought that was really good, I like your voice, you're obviously very nervous. And it's really nice to hear somebody say that. So Keith Judson, big fan of his, like his stuff. And
yeah, you get to see Keith if he's out and about.
Yeah.
This one is A Nation's Coming Home by John Hoare. Hello and welcome back to the Swinging Cat Studio. We've just been searching for John's Julian pipes, but we couldn't find him anywhere. So we've spared you that one. Take it away, John.
They're certainly not on this anyway. They are back now, the ones who left to roam. It's Christmas, so good to have them home. It's Christmas and a nation's coming home. Yes, it's Christmas and a nation's coming home. Departure gates are empty, inbound flights are full. Home tugged and the heartstrings responded to the pull. Words can wait till later on, embraces say it all. Regardless of the story or which one made the call. They are back now, the ones who left to roam. It's Christmas, so good to have them home. It's Christmas and the nation's coming home. Yes, it's Christmas and the nation's coming home. Some bags full of broken dreams, a heavy load to bear. Others travelling like this time have settled over there. For me, the lone outsider, it's now easy to believe. If it feels so good returning, how it must have hurt to leave. They are back now, the ones who left to roam. It's Christmas, so good to have them home. It's Christmas and the nation's coming home. Yes, it's Christmas and the nation's coming home. Smiling eyes can speak for now, but emotions will succumb to old bones of contention. Then it's drinking till you're numb. And all too soon it comes around again, the leaving home. Returning is to Christmas lights, but leaving's monochrome. They are back now, the ones who left to roam. It's Christmas, so good to have them home. It's Christmas and the nation's coming home. Yes, it's Christmas and the nation's coming home. Departure gates are empty, inbound flights are full. Home tugged and the heartstrings responded to the pull. Words can wait till later on, embraces say it all. Regardless of the story or which one made the call. They are back now, the ones who left to roam. It's Christmas, so good to have them home. It's Christmas and the nation's coming home. Yes, it's Christmas and the nation's coming home.
Yeah, I'm clapping in stereo now. As long as listen to that. Yep. Oh, well, that one.
Happy Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you, eh? 6 months, eh?
Something like that.
Yeah, there we are. You get less for speeding trouble. Here we go. A Nation's Coming Home from John Hoare. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you.
See you next month. Bye.
Black country.